Hello, it's Mary and it's So Right again. And today's all about the circular attachments, which is very common with all machines. Each brand machine does, as far as I know, I've checked quite a few of them. The company that you buy your machine from is the same company you would order your circular attachment. For instance, this one here is mine, and it's quite well worn because I've used it so many times. But what I want to tell you is, with circular attachments, most of them look very similar to this. This is the Viking circular attachment, and the other brands will look very similar to it also. With the Baby Lock, the Brother, the Viking, for instance, the piece, you get a push pin. And when you put your fabric on top, you would put your push pin into the center of where you want your circle. And then you would put it into the device underneath. And then you would slide this, and I'll show you in a little bit about it working on the machine, but that would determine how big your circle is. Now with the Baby Lock and the Brother and the Viking, it's very similar. The push pin goes in through the top. With Bernina, the pin comes from here up, and then there's a plug that goes on top to cover the pin, and it works the same. With the Husqvarna Viking, with the Brother and the Baby Lock, you get a template that is similar to this, so that depending on the size of the circle that you want to do, you could use your template. With Viking, they've gone and made other templates, which opened up a whole new design capability. And here, they show you how to use those kind of templates to create other kinds of shapes that are not really circles, but you're creating other shapes with the attachment. With the Viking, besides the templates, you also get the DVD to see how to use them and create those shapes. So the attachments, I do know that with the Brother, the Baby Lock, and the Bernina, the attachment screws into the stitch plate. With the Viking, these little prongs are going to clip into these holes. So all I'm going to do is angle this in here and snap it in. So now it's flush. And then, like I said, this mechanism is going to move, and that will determine how big your circles are. So what I'm saying as far as this goes pertains to all the circular attachments. When I am going to start my stitching, you don't have to match your bobbin thread. Just like embroidery, this is on the same principle. Your bobbin thread can be white. So you could use the pre-wound bobbins. Even if your machine is not an embroidery machine, if you do buy pre-wound bobbins, you use them the same way. They go into the machine just like you do all your other bobbins, but you don't have to match your top thread with your bobbin thread. So it's easy to just have white in the bobbin. So that's going to go in my machine. And for some reason, the habit of my bobbin thread coming to the surface, we're going to put the needle down and needle up, and I like to bring up my bobbin thread. It's just a habit that never went away with me. So there we go. The thing that I've started to do a lot, whenever I'm doing anything with decorative stitches or embroidery, besides using stabilizer underneath, which you'll have to do, I have started to use a new product that we have here in the store. It's called Easy Knit from Pellon, and I've been fused it to the wrong side of the fabric, and it stays there forever. But what's really great about it is it gives the fabric structure, but when I use decorative stitches and I then might want to use it as a garment or even in a quilt, it's not adding bulk to my project. It's still very soft, but the stability that it gives is really wonderful. So now, besides using the Easy Knit underneath, I'm going to put tearaway stabilizer underneath. Then I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to place it into my circular attachment, but I'm going to decide where do I want my first circle to be. I'm going to put it in the center. So I'm just going to push this through, And then I'm going to put that into the hole in the mechanism and push that down. Like I said, the Bernina, the pin comes from the bottom up, and then you plug it with the plug that they give you with it. So now, and then, like I said before, this is going to determine how big your circle is. This is going to be the center of your circle. So you have to think about this as you're going. Is it going to be in the area that you want it? Do not, when you are moving this, do not hold the pin to pull back and forth. Please use the mechanism underneath, and you're going to slide it that way. You don't want to stress it with the pin. So then I'm going to move this in this far, and then here I can see exactly where my circle is going to be. Now, underneath, you got your bobbin. Make sure, here, let me move this out again. Make sure that your tail from your bobbin is not getting caught in the mechanism somewhere. I just wanted to spin it so you could see. And now I'm going to put this back. Then we're going to come over to the screen of the machine, and I'm going to pick a stitch. I'm on my screen of my machine, and I'm going to pick a decorative stitch, and I am going to pick a serpentine stitch. This menu, there they are, serpentines, and there's different serpentines depending on how close they are or how wide they are, but I'm going to keep this one right here. Now, I've also chosen to use a variegated thread. All the companies have some sort of variegated thread that you could use, but the interest when you're doing certain stitches as it's traveling, it's changing colors, which is really cool. And the serpentine stitch is going to have a wonderful effect with the serpentine. So here we go. Oh, and also, let me point out here, I have the open toe foot on the machine because as it's traveling, I want to see the stitch as it's forming, where if I had the standard applique foot, there could be a bar across here and it kind of disrupts my view. So I'm just going to have it with the open toe foot, and here we go. I'm going to start to stitch, and this is the serpentine stitch. And as it's traveling, I'm going to just keep letting it go. Now, I am not pushing the fabric. I'm not going to pull it. I'm just going to keep smoothing this out as it goes. And because the push pin is here holding the fabric in the center, it's pulling the fabric all on its own. Now, if you're working on a very large piece, every once in a while, stop, straighten everything out, smooth it all out, and then continue. Now, as I continue, I'm going to stop for a moment, and the tails where I started, I'm going to trim them. I'm going to get rid of the top one and the bottom one, which is very important because as this is going around, that tail underneath could get caught into parts of the mechanism, and you don't want that because it'll hang it up from moving freely. The speed, I would just keep it what's comfortable for you. But I would not go full speed ahead because what's happening is the fabric might start shifting, and you want to have that moment that you can keep smoothing it out, and you'll have that opportunity when you're going at a little bit slower speed. Now, I was pretty lucky that it got really close to where it started, but don't count on that. Usually when you come full circle, it is not going to line up where it started. In this case, right now, what are the odds? It's landing exactly on the other stitch. I mean, I couldn't have made it happen if I wanted to. The odds are unbelievable. But it looks good as it's coming around. So let me keep going a little bit. I want to go more. And it's starting to go off of the other stitch, which is now, when we come all the way around, you're going to see the really great effect it gives it, and the variegated thread makes it even better. Love this stuff. I can't get enough of it. So here is where it started, and it landed right on top of the other ones. But as it's coming around, you can see over here how it's not on top of one another anymore. Oh, look at this. And you can go around as many times as you want. On the other quilt that I had shown you, the serpentine that I did was 3 rows. You could go 5 rows, 6 rows. It all depends on the look that you want it to have. So there we go with the serpentine stitch. Now, before I continue, when you are finished with doing your stitch and you want to start in a new place, all computerized machines have scissor cutters. With the Viking machine, do not use the cutter, because those prongs that went into the stitch plate could interfere with the knife that comes across and cuts. So instead, all you're going to do is raise your presser foot, and you're going to pull this out, and you're going to trim your thread. And yes, you could pull the threads to the wrong side and make a knot if you'd like. But do not use your cutter with the Viking machine. The Bernina and the Baby Lock and the Brother, I'm not sure about Janome, but because they screw into the stitch plate away from this area, you can use your cutter if you choose to. So now, I'm going to come back to exactly the same spot with my push pin. And I'm going to put that in there. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to move it in. So I'm going to get a smaller circle. But I'm going to pick a new stitch. So I happen to love feather stitches. So I'm going to pick that feather stitch. And I'm going to leave the variegated thread in, but I could change it to another color if I want, which would add more interest. But I'm going to leave it to save time. And here we go. When you do go to a smaller circle, it does have a tendency to buckle here. So that's why it's very important that you keep smoothing it out. The fact that I did this outer circle first is helping that the buckling isn't going to keep the fabric from puckering in a certain section. And here, like I came around before I continue further, I'm going to get rid of my top thread and my bobbin thread, because I don't want that bobbin thread especially getting hung up on any parts underneath. So then I'm going to continue. Oh, and I just have a great idea. After it comes back to where it started, I'm going to mirror image that feather stitch and go right over it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's all experimental, and that's what's so great about this. Having fun with it and just trying other things. Don't be afraid to try things. Okay, so now I'm going to mirror image that design, and I'm going to flip it so it's going the opposite way. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going to happen here. Okay, so like I said, don't use the cutter on the Viking machine. I'm going to pull this out. And look at how beautiful that is. Now, what if you wanted to do a half of a circle, maybe on the end? So you want a circle that goes this way. You're going to be putting the push pin here, and we're going to start here, and it's going to go around to this end. So now, put my push pin over here. And sometimes you're going to get the ruler out and you're going to measure exactly that it would be in the center of the whole piece. All right, so now I'm going to do a half of a circle. So my push pin is here. So it's going to go from here around to here. But because I want to start right on the edge, I've taken an extra piece of stabilizer and I've put it there so I can start right at the edge. So here we go. I have a new stitch. Gotta play with them. Don't be afraid to experiment. And use different colors. You don't have to use all variegated or all solids. Mix them, variegated and solids and purples and greens, and just mix them up. Now, say you wanted to do an applique with a satin stitch. What I would do first is I do a plain straight stitch with the circular attachment. Then I would trim away the excess that I didn't want. Then I'd go back to the beginning where I started and I choose a satin stitch on the machine. Oh, I'm going to stop for a moment because I want to take a piece of stabilizer and I want to put it at the end because I'm going to run off the end. And I want that supported. So if you have, if you do a straight stitch first, you can trim away the excess that you wouldn't want. Then go back to the beginning of where you started and pick a satin stitch and go over the straight stitch. So look at that. This is great. All right, now that I've finished the half a circle, I'm noticing I do have my tails. I'm going to get rid of them because as I go to do my next project, I don't want those tails getting hung up in the bottom with the mechanism. But now I want to do a quarter of a circle. I want to do a circle here in this corner. So I'm just going to put my push pin here. And I'm going to put that in into the mechanism. Oh, and keep it flat. Wait a minute. And I'm going to come around here. And again, because I want to start right at the edge, my stabilizer extends out. I'm going to pick a new stitch. Oh my goodness, what am I going to pick? Love all these things. Let's see. Let's try this one. Here we go. Just pull that thread straight. Okay, there we go. Now, some of the machines have stitches that are called side motion. They're very wide. And what happens with those, the fabric actually moves left and right. Those stitches would not look good or work well with the circular attachment. This one, there's a little bit of movement. The fabric is moving a little bit left and right, but not like the very wide stitches. On the Viking, they're called omni stitches. In the other machines, they're under the decorative stitch label. Almost there. And I would go off the edge so that stitch is into the seam allowance. Raise my foot. Now, if you think about it, also, like I've explained earlier, with I did a circle inside a circle, I could also do it on this one. I do have that tail under there, so I'm going to just pull it to the back. So if I wanted, I could come back here and move my attachment in and do another circle inside there. So this is using a circular attachment, and right here I've already created a beautiful piece. Okay, now that I've done the decorative stitches, the stabilizer that's underneath was only temporary, and it is tear away. So when I turn this over and I want to get rid of it, I call this TV time. So I just brace my finger where the stitches are, and I pull. And then I'll pull. And that piece is gone. And those little tiny pieces, they can stay there. They're not going to hurt the fabric or the project in any way. But you're just going to pull away all your stabilizer. And yes, like I said, hold your finger where your stitches are. So as you're pulling, the pulling is not pulling on the stitches and distorting the stitches in any way. So I just keep pulling. You can use cutaways, you can use water solubles, but I find that with the water soluble, then I got to put it in water. With the cutaways, you're not going to get right up to the stitches. You're going to be trimming, and then you'll have more stabilizer there that's is going to add bulk. I do prefer to use the tearaways and use a lightweight. You have to use a heavyweight tearaway, because if you do have a heavy weight, when you start pulling on this, it's not going to pull easy. Just use a lightweight. And if you need a little bit more support, use 2 layers instead of just 1. So here, just as you see, I'm pulling this all away. And then, like I said, TV time. Look at that. And then when I turn it over, my design is still beautiful. So, I hope you enjoyed today's class, and I look forward to seeing you in my future classes. Have a good night. Bye.